yes, it has been very smooth sailing, but I think it has been smooth sailing because I've worked my absolute butt off over that lockdown period. Like when we're at home for 6 months, I was prospecting morning and night.
We believe every Australian deserves a right to own at the very least 5 investment properties. I'm Adrian Trimboli.
And I'm Frank Ambezi, and welcome to the Invest in You podcast.
In life, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. This goes hand in hand with Mr. Negotiator himself, the guest that we have on today. And it's really, it rings truth. Let's talk about property. You only get as good as what you can negotiate. And you know what? To put it out to the rest of the life, you only get as good as what you can negotiate with. Whether that comes with negotiating with yourself on, am I going to go to the gym today? Or negotiating with your kids on going out and doing the lawn, negotiating with your wife, negotiating with a business partner. This is in all facets of life. So I'm very, very privileged to bring on Mr. Negotiator himself, Mr. Dylan Francis, one of the top agents in Melbourne. And he's going to give us a real masterclass on what to do inside a negotiation, whether it be at auction or private treaty. So very, very excited. Can't wait. Let's get learning. I'm very, very privileged to welcome you, Mr. Dylan Francis from Jellis Craig. Welcome, my friend.
Adrian, thank you, mate. Appreciate you having me on board today. Looking forward to having a chat with you, mate, and sharing the story of real estate. Thanks again.
Absolutely. Not a problem at all, mate. I've seen you in a few different positions. I've known you for probably about 10 years now, Dylan.
I think it would be maybe a little bit longer.
Yeah, maybe longer, 15 years. I don't know if I would have picked real estate for yourself and doing as, you know, let's be honest, number one or very close to number one in Melbourne. Definitely in Jellis Craig for sure last year. So I don't know if real estate I would have picked you, but I want to know about the story. I want to know how it came to real estate because obviously, yeah, out of school. Do you want to touch a bit on that, mate?
Yeah, mate. We obviously went to school together. We've obviously known each other for quite some time, but coming out of school, which was Brunswick Secondary College, so sort of born and bred in the Brunswick locale, which has sort of worked well for me with transitioning into real estate. But coming out of school, I got into the family business, which was landscape gardening. So qualified landscape gardener, horticulturist as well, which is sort of my brother Jesse and Dad's business that they're still running at the moment. So we got out of school, we did a course, we got into that. Obviously, did quite a bit of travel with the boys with Europe, Thailand, Bali, as you do coming out of school, but sort of fell into the family position there and family kind of job of following the footsteps of an older brother and father as you would. So sort of got into that game and coming out of school at 18, we got into landscaping and worked for a company called Package Landscapes as well throughout that kind of period as well, which did all childcare centres around Australia. So I travelled quite a bit to Adelaide and Sydney and Canberra. So we good start learning centres that we do, a brand new construction of a courtyard or a backyard and sort of their entertaining area as well. But got into landscaping. We did that for 5 or 6 years. And I think it was the end of 2016 or early 2017. I wanted to sort of make a change and I always wanted to do something for myself. Landscaping is great as it is. And, it's probably not the most flashiest trade. They probably get left to last, the poor landscapers and gardeners, mate, as a typical builder would say. But, wanting to do something for myself and sort of take that next step and roll into sort of transitioning into a new gig, I sort of stumbled across the real estate industry there. And I had a very good friend, Jimmy Messis, who actually went to school with myself, who you'd know quite well, that used to work out at Jellis Craig Fitzroy. And I hassled him for months on end to sort of get me a gig, and he gave me an opportunity. So we sat down with a few of the directors out of the Brunswick office here and managed to get a gig, in the Brunswick office. So I had multiple interviews with other real estate agents and agencies in Melbourne, and probably 4 or 5 interviews, but I didn't say yes to any of them, and that was purely because of the branding behind Jealous Craig. I didn't want to just rush into it. I had work behind me. I used to attend all auctions for Jealous Craig. Charles Atkins would say it. Rob Elton would say it. Mitchell and Greg would say it. I used to go to their auctions every Saturday just as a bystander, wanting them to see me there and wanting them to see me that, I'd like to get involved in the business and, sort of understand what happens auction day. So I think I did that for 3 months before they gave me an interview. And I think once they gave me that interview, they knew that I was ready for the position. I was very green. I had a big beard. Coming from the work boots to the suit shoes was a big transition, mate. But I was, sort of gifted that opportunity here at the Brunswick office, obviously thanks to Greg Cusack and Mitchell Boys here. And sort of that's how I fell into the office here out of Brunswick, mate. And the role was a cadet. So that's what they were offering at the time, which anyone in real estate would probably know that's the lowest kind of grade starting point. We get a lot of people that work in teams at the moment that come in as sales consultants or you might be an executive assistant or personal assistant, which is probably an easier and better role. But coming in as a cadet is more running around as a minion for the office. So, I started sort of at the bottom, as you can say, to get into the gig and, working long hours, sort of doing, non-dollar productive jobs. But as we know, Wade, sort of getting into any industry and any business, mate, it's not where you start, it's where you finish that should be the goal for everyone sort of listening here today. But it was a story in itself, and I still enjoy my landscaping. I obviously do my house and my gardens and sort of give advice to all vendors in the marketplace at the moment that are looking to sell them, what to do to their gardens and how to get it ready for sale, because I've been in that area for quite some time.
Amazing. Beautiful story. Now I want to touch on that. So 2017 is when you came in as the cadet. Mm-hmm. Best cadet Jealous Craig has ever seen. Obviously, there's a story from there to now, early 2022, because, and I've heard it, I've seen it because I've watched a lot of what you do. I've heard it from a lot of people in the industry. You are now pushing up to that real top 2%, 1% of agents across Melbourne, Australia. Yep. Tell me about that process. How's it gone from there to then now to where you sit now? I take it you're probably not a cadet anymore. But talk me through that and kind of even the ups and downs more so from your end.
Yeah, so usually when starting in a role as a cadet at any office, you might be in a role for a year or two. I think I sat in a role for 3 months or 4 months, which was an extremely fast process from coming into the office and starting that gig. And I was very eager. I was always asking the question to Greg and Mitch in the office, what's next? What's next? What can I do? What can I do to benefit myself and sort of take that next step? Coming out of an industry that I'd been in for 5 years, obviously doing quite well, and then sort of taking a step back is always hard, and obviously taking a step back in what you earn and what's in your pocket weekly as well. You always want to think about, how can I earn a little bit more money? How can I benefit myself? So I was gifted a job and obviously a position in Liz and Greg's team here, which is, one of the best teams in Melbourne itself. Greg's and Liz are high performing agents here as well. So I was offered a position there as a sort of a buyer's prospector sales consultant in their team. Had a lot of possibilities and they gave me a lot of sort of free rein in their team to sort of work alongside them and sort of understand and understand the craft of real estate listing and selling. And they got me into my auctioneering course, which we've been an auctioneer for a few years now, but sort of transitioning into that and not doing a role for everyone in the office and really focusing on a team felt a little bit more warming, and you felt a position was wanted a little bit more, so you could really report to the team. You had your KPIs that we had to work along, how many prospecting calls I'd make per day, per week, what leads I'd generate for the team. So it wasn't so much about me, it was more so much about bringing to the team. And by buying into the team goals there, Adrian, whatever you bring in, there's a reward for you every month or every quarter as well. So it was still working up the chain. That was sort of the second transition there as well. And I did that for about 1.5 years, 2 years in Greg's team, sort of went from the buyer manager to a lister in the team. And then we sort of had a few other new people come in under us as well that helped out with the role that I took on as soon as I entered the team of a a buyer manager and sort of prospector in the team. So then it was sort of me generating leads and business for the team, which was great. But I think I got to a point which was extremely fast, as a lot of people know in this industry, to move from that role to a lister in a team to then stepping out on my own, which was a decision I made. It's about a year and a half ago now. So I think, where are we now? 2022. So it was mid 2020. Actually started 2020, which is probably the biggest step for me. Saying, okay, I think I'm confident to go out on my own here. Based on what I've written and generated for the team over the last 12 months, I'm confident I can do this myself. Now, everyone wants to earn the best possible dollar in real estate, but I had the clients behind me, and as I said earlier, being born and bred in the area, I know everyone in Brunswick, I know everyone in Coburg. I've been to school here. I've played football together, as you know. We do know a lot of people in the area here, and I did back myself knowing these people that I was working with, that I think I'd get quite a bit of repeat business. So sort of made that transition in 2020, which was a very tough decision because that was the start of the lockdown. And for someone to go out on his own at the start of a lockdown, not knowing where this real estate market's going to head over the next 6 to 12 months, let alone just over 2 years gone, where it would be or where I would be in 6 months, it was a decision. Hey, if I'm going to give it a red hot crack, I'm going to give it a red hot crack now. And if I can survive this lockdown by myself, not having a hell of a lot behind me, and I can push through this, I don't think I'm ever going to look back. And I look back now, which has been 2 years, stepping out on my own, running the first 8 months as a solo agent, and sort of writing 4 or 5 times more than I thought I would write, and the goals that were set for that year. So 8 months into it, I quickly made the decision, having a chat with Greg and a few guys in the office. Hey, I need some assistance under me now. So we had Nick Roper, who was previously in Greg's team as a buyer manager, start under me as a buyer manager, but also an assistant, sort of helping me out with opens, calls, just the volume that I had on at the moment. I just couldn't handle myself, from listing to prospecting to negotiating to auctioneering to selling to admin. It just became too much. So we got Nick on board, which was great. And then 60 days later, due to the volume again, I had to take on a third person, which is Madison, who's still in our team as my personal assistant EA, who does all my admin. So I don't touch any admin now, which is sensational. It was never my strong point at school, let alone now. So trying to process the files, probably not my strong point, and I don't think I'd be as fast as the guys that do it at the moment. But from moving from a single agent to 2 under me within 12 months. And then as of 60 days ago, I've put a 4th person in my team, which is Caitlin. So there's now 3 people under me. So what I've sort of structured it as is myself as a team leader, auctioneer, I don't want to call myself the boss, but, now I've got a team under me that sort of work with me, report to me. And the rundown is we've got 2 agents under me that are campaign managers, listing agents, buyer agents that sort of, do quite a bit of work across the board. Their admin, they don't touch. So Madison does all their admin as well. So it's a pretty good, well-trained team at the moment. But that's probably what we needed to do in order to take the next step again and set the KPIs and the goals for this year. But that's 4 in the team over 12 months. And who knows in the next 6 or 12 months time, mate, pending how the market goes and how hard we can work. Certainly looking to increase that team over the next 6 or 12 months with a few new candidates as well. So it's been well.
It's been well. It sounds like it's been smooth sailing, or you've obviously had your challenges, of course. I guess the biggest one that kind of popped up there was that decision to go balls to wall when the COVID hit, and you said, "Yeah, let's do it." But 12 months or 18 months, that kind of growth is madness.
Yeah. And you're not wrong there. There was always questions and things in the back of my mind thinking, mate, is this the right decision that you're doing? With you're either going to sink or swim here. But as we both know, in business, you need to give it a red hot crack. If you don't give it a red hot crack, you're going to be left wondering. As we know from, back in the day, sporting and what we did, we always gave it our all here. And I thought, this is the best possible time in a market that may be struggling. If I can come out of this and do well, I will never turn back. And I feel like that's what's happening at the moment. yes, it has been very smooth sailing, but I think it has been smooth sailing because I've worked my absolute butt off over that lockdown period. Like when we're at home for 6 months, I was prospecting morning and night. I'm sure a lot of people were sitting back thinking this is a holiday, but I thought I needed to double down over this period here to come out of lockdown with the amount of clients and potential listings, vendors, and people that I could transact with and work with for the next 6 to 12 months has sort of, kept me going. And a lot of those clients I've sold 5, 6, 7, 10 properties for over the last 2 years, which is a big thing and a relationship that I developed over that lockdown period to keep me going.
Awesome. Love it. Brilliant. A great story. I want to flip the switch because a lot of their listeners will be listening to us going, what the hell, buyers agents and real estate agents having a conversation and seeming to be very friendly. How do you go? Because obviously buyers agents, especially in the areas that you're taking care of now, they're becoming more prominent. Obviously, your $2 million homes or even your $1 million homes, whatever they are. How do you go when you do come up against a buyer's agent? Is it something you like, something you dislike? Do you want to talk me through or talk the viewers through it?
Yeah, look, buyers agents, a lot of people won't work with them in this marketplace, but I've got an extremely good relationship with, I think, 5 or 6 buyers agents and buyers advocates in this marketplace. I think they're like gold. Now, the reason I say that is, you can think about it yourself. You've got a client, Adrian, you're looking to transact that client. I'm looking to transact for my vendor. So why would I not want to build a relationship with a buyer's agent who I know is going to help me get a potential deal done? We're all in it to, get our vendor the best possible price. As a buyer's agent, they're in it to get their client, a property secured, and everyone's in it to obviously celebrate at the end of the day. But I feel like a property that gets listed in my team, we've got a list set for buyers advocates and buyers agents. They're the first people that we contact when the property's been listed. The reason we do that is we know they're extremely, motivated buyers and motivated agents as well. We all want to get a deal done, and those clients that they're working with are usually the best buyers in this marketplace. They've got their finance approved, they know exactly what they want to buy, they know their location, they know what school the kids want to go to or where they want to be with regards to transport. As soon as a property comes across a desk, if it ticks the boxes, we're usually getting the property sold to a buyer's agent prior to it hitting the market. So we feel like in our team, it's best to have a strong relationship with them than work against them, because we feel like we can get deals done a lot quicker than what we'd have to do if we had to go to market, run a campaign, and then try to find a buyer. And usually we're getting a significant price prior to it going online, working and having this relationship with the buyer's agent.
There you go. See, we're not just talking crap then.
No,
we're not just talking crap. You heard it there first. Absolutely. So there are benefits. That's very, very interesting to hear it from yourself as well. Yeah. And that was not a planned conversation, just to say it. Now, another one here. We always like to leave listeners, viewers with always something to walk away with that they can actually bring to the market, whether they're purchasing a home, whether they're purchasing investments. You've obviously negotiated on a lot of properties in your time, right? In the 4 years, 3 years, however long you've been out on your own. I want to leave, obviously as a seller, you're negotiating on behalf of the seller. Your job, get the highest price. But as a buyer, right, I want to leave the viewers, listeners with 2 to 3 things that they can walk away with in trying to secure a property. Let's talk about Brunswick when the market is hot and the property's cracking. Is there anything they can do to stand out?
As a buyer?
As a buyer.
Yeah. Look, as we know, without a good buyer in this marketplace, we're going to struggle to get the property sold. I was a buyer in the marketplace a couple of months ago with a new property that I secured in Preston. I think as a buyer in this marketplace, you need to be completely transparent and forthcoming when buying a property. We do get a lot of buyers in this marketplace. Now, yes, I know there is a lot of stigma around real estate agents that we may not be transparent. Us at Jealous Craig and my team try to pride ourselves on how honest and forthcoming we are as well. Now, if a buyer called me and asked me what they needed to pay to get the deal done, I'd be completely transparent and hope to get the deal done. But if I was a buyer in this market looking to secure a property, I'd try to build a very good relationship with an agent that I was constantly in touch with, probably weekly, asking, hey, Dylan, hey, Nick, hey, Caitlin, hey, Madison, what do we have coming to market that's going to suit me? What have you got coming up over the next 30 days that I might be able to buy? And I think you've just got to build that relationship with that buyer. And if I know that that buyer is constantly coming to me and saying, hey, what have we got available? What can I buy over the next 30 days? I'm going to go to those buyers as well as the buyer's agents when a property is listed and give them the first opportunity to buy the property. So I just think, firstly, you've got to be forthcoming. I think you've got to be very upfront and find a relationship with an agent in the area who constantly sells that stock. Another thing that you need to have in place here, please have your finances approved. I know it is getting harder out there at the moment with banks getting a little bit tougher with lending and interest rates going up and due to COVID, a lot of people sort of transitioning from job to job, which makes it a little bit more difficult. But if you can have your finance approved, you can have your due diligence done behind the scenes, you can have a conveyancer on standby ready to review a contract or have a look at some other details if need be. If you can have those 1, 2, 3, or 4 things in check, I can guarantee you in this marketplace, if you do have those ready to go and a property becomes available for you that suits your requirements, you're most likely going to buy it, or at least you're going to have a red hot crack to put an offer forward to hopefully purchase the property.
Absolutely. Perfect. I think the big thing there, which is undermined a little bit, is relationships.
Yeah,
it's absolutely what our business is built on.
Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep.
So that's
we have a very good buyer database of qualified people that we call when a property's listed. But if you're an agent in this marketplace and you're on standby with me, and Dylan, please let me know if this is available. Like I've got a lot of developers I work with. The list is getting longer and longer. That I need a service and find a development site, because I know at the end of it, I'll probably get those resales back in a year or two's time, and I know they're going to be at the top of the shopping list for me. And if a property's listed, I know to send it straight through to them, and we'll usually get a deal done as well. So I think if you can, it's about relationships here. It's not about me working against you. If we can work together, we're going to get a deal done.
I love it. I love it. Flip side of that, say the relationship isn't there and the vendor absolutely wants to go to auction. Now, you yourself, you are an auctioneer. I've seen you in action multiple times. A lot of the times, the person who wins the auction day is the one who has the most money and can go the highest. But surely there's a couple of tips. Surely there's things you've seen where you went, I like that.
Yep.
Tell me, talk our viewers, talk our listeners through that. What do they have to do on auction day?
Well, look, a lot of vendors in this marketplace, agent, are wanting to go to auction. And the reason is, it's an extremely buoyant market at the moment, coming out of lockdown late last year with all that pent-up demand and not being able to auction, not being able to show property. Everyone came out of the gates absolutely firing. A lot of buyers were cashed up, ready to go. And if I run through some sales over the last 6 months that my team has transacted, if I look at the price that some people paid and then look back today at what they paid, have they made any money over the last 6 months? Probably not. But I think it was more of an emotional transaction and a decision that they needed to make coming out of lockdown. But I think if you are going to auction, just be transparent. I think come with a budget. If you can come with a budget, and you know that that's what you're prepared to go to, stick to it. And I know it can get hard out there and it can get quite emotional as well. If I see you bidding against him and him bidding against me, the adrenaline starts to go. You go with a budget of $1 million, you might spend 1.1. We see it all the time. But I just think if you can go with a realistic figure in mind, do a little bit of research behind the scenes, maybe look in the area with some comparable sales that, may not have been advertised on a statement of information. It could be a great comparable for the home that's being auctioned. Maybe have a look at that, because there could be some sales that are higher than what's being sold and maybe more than sort of, the price it's being asked on auction day. So I think if you can sort of go with a little bit more comfort, with a little bit more detail on the day, and you go to auction and you're successful, great. But if you're not, you've obviously given it a red hot crack, and you've probably bid to a place where you're comfortable and you haven't stretched yourself. There'd be nothing worse than stretching yourself to that limit where you settle the property, you're struggling to pay back a mortgage or a loan, and your lifestyle changes.
Absolutely. There you go. There you have it. Going with the budget. I remember having a chat with you, Dill. It was probably early 2021, and you were slowly talking about bringing someone on to assist you, right? Now, since then, you just said it then, in that 12 months, you've got another one, another person to help you. I guess from our side, from a business perspective, to take it away from real estate for a second. We only started to see real growth. We only started to see the business actually do something once we decided to bring on that buyer's agent, once we decided to bring on that personal assistant. Do you want to touch on a little bit about, I guess, team, and then obviously leverage, what that allows you to kind of do?
Yeah. Well, as you heard it before, Adrian, I just think there is only so much you can do in this business. Now, I think it was going to get to the point where if I had have kept going at the speed I was going at, I would have completely burnt out, and I was starting to feel that. The goal for me this year is have a little bit more of a work-life balance, which last year was purely work. And I'm sure it was, for everyone sort of listening to this today, with that lockdown there as well, everyone sort of threw everything else out the window, and we really, knuckled down with our work careers and sort of gave something else a red hot crack. But I think if we can really, enjoy where we're at the moment, and sort of go, get someone else in your team once we feel like we've hit that roadblock and we need some assistance. A lot of people are worried about taking that next step. It may cost some money. They're not sure what they're going to write, but take it from someone who's put 3 under them in a year's time. That's the best decision I've ever made. And if I didn't do that, I'd probably, I probably would have burnt out. I would have stuck at the probably the numbers I was writing, which is still fine, but it's alleviated me to then take the next step and become that leader and solely focus on the team and what the team needs to do in order for me to go get that next listing or generate that next lead, prospect that next person that I was holding off on calling because there was too many things to do behind the scenes as well. I just think we've really got to think about opening up a team, helping each other develop, to have an admin person under me where I don't touch any admin, that allows me probably 2 or 3 hours per day extra to make calls on prospect and do dollar productive things. And if I can do that, Adrian, it's going to help my team and my business write more money, which means everyone in my team earns more money. So I think you've got to think about the bigger picture here, that yes, there's a way on how we can take the next step, but in order to do those small 1%ers and actually make the decision to do that, I think it's the biggest thing for someone. A lot of people are getting, a lot of people may be scared to do that. And I had a few conversations with a few colleagues from other offices over the last couple of months on them needing to take the next step and getting some assistance around them. And I said, guys, I can guarantee you based on personal experience that if you do this, not saying your business is going to double quick smart, you're going to have a lot more time under you to then prospect and bring a little bit more money and business to the team, which is going to alleviate you to then take the next step to potentially, hey, this person under me can now list and prospect. I need someone else in my team to do the admin. And then you slowly start to grow the team from there. And, that's where that team sort of, rolls into action. Everyone's defined job roles are really working, and it's going to push you to that next step as well.
Absolutely. It's almost a change of mindset, if to be honest. I grew up with an Italian family, right? And hiring someone or paying someone a wage is seen as an expense, right? Which you literally need to flip it the entire way around. It is absolutely an asset to you. And more time in that genius zone, more time that you're doing that dollar productive stuff, the stuff that's bringing the company the most amount of money. Is that worth more than the X amount that you're going to pay this admin staff or the sales representative, whatever it is?
Definitely. And sort of working in this area of the inner north here, predominantly Brunswick West Coburg, Brunswick East into the Pasco Vales, a team of 4, I think one of the biggest teams in the inner north. Obviously, Greg's team's large. There's a couple of other teams in competing agencies there. But, to be a solo agent in this business, it is, and try to write some very good commission and comms and listings and sales, which we all talk about. You're not going to be able to get to that next step doing it yourself. As I experienced a year ago, I got to a certain threshold, which was amazing to get there, but to then take the next step, I needed to bite the bullet, take a step back in order for me to take 2 steps forward, which has definitely shown over the last 12 months.
Amazing. Beautiful. I love it. We've had a good chat. I want to leave, if you have anything floating around in your head, one bit of advice, anything regarding to business, regarding to property, what would it be to leave for the viewers?
I just think we've got to back ourselves. If we look back 10 years on where the real estate market was and business was, and we look back to where we are today, you've all made some money. I think the best investment is buying real estate, whether it be in Melbourne, whether it be in South Australia or Queensland. I think buying an investment property is a massive thing, especially in our generation. I think a lot of our parents probably didn't do as much when we were younger, but I think it's now a thing of our age. If we can get in, secure a property while we are younger, maybe an investment property, we'll look back 5 or 10 years time, as Adrian, we're going to make some money there. So I think about just back yourself. And I think a big thing in business, which I've learned over the last 5 years, especially when earning, some money in this business, is learn how to save. I've got a structure where I save anywhere between 10 and 20% of what I earn per month or per week. I've got a few separate accounts, which I've got a life coach, Dr. Fred, who teaches me and sort of trains me with regards to offsite real estate stuff or personal goals and where I want to be in 5 or 10 years time. So I think back yourself, have someone as a leader or a mentor in this business, and learn how to save money.
I love it. Perfect. How can people get in contact with you? It will be in the show notes, but just to say it.
Yep. Obviously, I've got my email there, which is dylanfrance@jealouscraig.com.au. The contact number's obviously 0421 023 832, located at 179 Sydney Road in Brunswick, guys. But Adrian, appreciate you having me on today, mate. Hopefully that's a bit of intel and some detail for the viewers to sort of listen to, take on board. But continue doing what you're doing with yourself and Frankie, mate. You're doing extremely well in your business, mate, and looking forward to doing some work together soon.
Absolutely. Can't wait to see what 2022 brings for you and for us. But yeah, looking forward to the next 5 years watching you grow even more. I appreciate it very, very much, Dill.
Thank you, mate. Have a great day.
Thank you, sir.
If you like today's podcast, then you're absolutely going to love the Invest in You Facebook group, where we share a bunch of valuable tips and tricks on property investing for our exclusive community. Come join us and let's level up.